Welcome back to the evening story shelf. Tonight, the story continues. Settle in and let the evening stay still. A Little Princess, a Gentle Evening Story, Part 3. The days that followed settled into a gentle pattern. Not an easy one, but a steady one. Each morning, the bell rang. Each morning Sara rose from her narrow bed and dressed with care. She learned the rhythms of the boarding school, the quiet before breakfast, the careful walk down the stairs, the way voices softened when Miss Minchin passed. Sara became very good at noticing small things, the way the light changed in the hallway as the seasons shifted, the sound of Ermengarde's footsteps, always a little hurried, always uncertain, the way Lavinia laughed just a little too loudly when she wanted to be heard. Sara learned when to speak, and when silence was safer. Still she did not shrink. She listened. She observed. She held herself as her father had taught her, calmly, with dignity. Letters arrived from India now and then. They were shorter than before, but Sara read them slowly, as if she could stretch their warmth. She kept them folded neatly beneath her pillow. At night, when the house grew quiet, she took them out and read them again. Her father's handwriting felt like his voice, steady, familiar. On one such evening, Sara sat at her small table, Emily propped beside her. She had just finished reading a letter when a feeling settled over her. Not fear, not exactly. Something quieter, like a shadow passing across the sun. The next morning the bell rang as usual. Breakfast was served, lessons began, and yet the air felt different. Miss Minchin moved through the school with sharper steps. Her voice carried more weight. She spoke in shorter sentences. Sara noticed. She always noticed. That afternoon, Sara was called to Miss Minchin's office. The summons came without explanation. Ermengarde looked at her anxiously as Sara rose from her seat. "I don't like that room," Ermengarde whispered. Sara smiled faintly. "It will be all right," she said. But as she walked down the corridor, Sara felt her heart beat more firmly against her ribs. Miss Minchin stood near the window when Sara entered. A letter lay open on the desk. Its envelope was thin, foreign. Sara recognized the look of it at once. Her father's letters had looked like that. Miss Minchin turned slowly. "Sara," she said. Her tone was measured, too measured. "I have received news." Sara stood very still. "Yes," she said quietly. Miss Minchin picked up the letter. "Your father has been unwell," she said. The words fell carefully, as if chosen for effect. Sara's fingers curled slightly at her sides. "I know," she replied. "He mentioned it." Miss Minchin's eyes narrowed. "The situation is serious," she continued. Sara did not speak. She felt as if the room had grown very far away. Miss Minchin folded the letter. "You may return to your lessons," she said. "There is nothing more to be done at present." Sara inclined her head. "Yes, Miss Minchin." She walked out of the office slowly. The hallway felt longer than before. The sounds of the school drifted past her, as if from another place. Ermengarde rushed to her side when she returned. "What happened?" she whispered. Sara shook her head gently. "Nothing," she said. But that night, Sara could not sleep. She lay awake, listening to the house breathe around her, the creak of beams, the whisper of wind at the window. She imagined her father sitting somewhere far away. She imagined his voice, his smile. She pressed Emily close and whispered the stories she used to tell herself when she was very small. Stories where illness faded, where journeys ended safely, where love was stronger than distance. The days passed. Then one morning another letter arrived. This time Miss Minchin read it first. She did not summon Sara immediately. She kept her waiting. That waiting was worse than any words. At last Sara was called to the office again. Miss Minchin did not ask her to sit. "Your father has died," she said. The words were quiet, almost ordinary. And because they were ordinary, they felt unreal. Sara stood very still. For a moment nothing happened at all. Then the meaning reached her. Not all at once, slowly, like cold spreading through water. "My father," Sara said. Miss Minchin nodded. "There is more," she added. But Sara did not hear her at first. Her father, gone. The man who had held her hand in the carriage, who had given her the book, who had taught her how to be brave, gone. Miss Minchin continued speaking. Something about money, something about investments, something about loss. But Sara's thoughts had turned inward. She felt very far away from her own body. At last Miss Minchin stopped. "Sara," she said sharply, "do you understand?" Sara lifted her eyes. "Yes," she said. Her voice was steady, even now. Miss Minchin looked almost disappointed. "You may go," she said. Sara walked out. She did not cry. Not yet. She walked up the stairs, past the classrooms, past the doors, past the familiar hallways, until she reached her room. She closed the door gently behind her. The room felt smaller than before. She sat on the bed. Emily slipped from her hands onto the blanket. Sara stared at the wall. A tear fell, then another. She did not sob. She did not wail. She cried quietly, as if even her grief were trying to behave. After a long while, Sara wiped her face. She stood. She picked up Emily and set her carefully beside the pillow. Then she straightened her shoulders. "My father loved me," she whispered. "And because he loved me, I must remember who I am." Downstairs the school continued. Lessons resumed, meals were served. The world did not stop. But something inside Sara had changed forever. That night she lay awake longer than usual, not imagining stories, just remembering. At last exhaustion softened her thoughts, and in the quiet hours before morning, Sara slept, holding tightly to the one thing no one could take away, her dignity. Thank you for listening to the Evening Story Shelf. This was a gentle retelling of A Little Princess. The story will continue in the next episode.